The IET Future Tech Panel works through 15 working groups, and currently this initiative is from the Manufacturing Working Group, which is focused on providing thought leadership in effective deployment of Industry 4.0 technologies. The working group is chaired by Dr. Purnendu Sinha, who is the technology leader for Group Innovation Tata Sons, and Gyaneshwar Kambali, who is the general manager for IIoT strategy and solution for Hitachi. Today's roundtable discussion has been curated with the objective that MSMEs, we get to hear from MSMEs of the challenges that they face in their digitalization journey, and how we could be of assistance in helping them embrace some sort of a step-by-step process in their digitalization journey. And that is why we have a set of participants today. I will take a minute to introduce everyone who's joined in for this discussion. We have Mr. Tushar Arora, who is the CEO of Abilities India Pistons and Rings Limited. We have Mr. Siddharth Chennai, who is the CEO of Finger Engineering. We have Mr. Dattatreya Navalgundkar, who is the Executive Director of C4I4 Labs. We have Mr. Pradeep Bhalwankar, who is the Founder and Managing Director of Twin Engineers. We have Mr. Vijay Kumar, who is the Managing Director of Weldomac Engineering. We have Dr. A. Balamurugan, who is also moderating this session today. He is the Director of Growth Hacking Partners, and he is a member of the Manufacturing Working Group of the IET Future Tech Panel too. And we have Professor Rahul Nabar, who is the Associate Professor at the Department of Chemical Engineering, IIT Bombay, engineering consultant as well, and a member of the IET Future Tech Panel. That's a brief introduction about us and about the panel today and what we intend to do. I would now request Purnendu, who is the chair of the Manufacturing Working Group of the IET Future Tech Panel, to formally open the session. And then we will proceed with Dr. Bala to moderate this. Again, just a gentle reminder to all the participants who are not a part of the speakers today in this discussion to kindly put yourself on mute and also have your camera switched off. After the discussion is over, we will have a moderation on questions and answers that we can take from you. But till then, small request from our end. Over to you, Purnendu.
So thank you, Jenny, and good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thank you for joining us in this roundtable discussion. We are quite excited. When we were designing this, we were looking at how from IIT and specifically from Manufacturing Working Group, we can bring something very different and something new, which will help MSMEs in manufacturing sector in India to embrace and accelerate the adoption of Industry 4.0. And then we brainstormed to see how best we could address that objective. And we felt that it will be a good idea to invite some of the MSMEs who have embarked on this journey and have taken concrete steps and have shown values by implementing some of the Industry 4.0 technologies and advancement. And there are some who are sitting at the fence, still trying to see what would be the initial step which would lead to a success story. And we thought that if we bring these two folks together on a roundtable discussion, facilitated by two important aspects, which is coming from Mr. Dattatreya Navalgundkar and Professor Chabar, to see how the success story and the innovation which is stopping some of the companies to take that step forward, how can that barrier be overcome? And that's precisely the objective. And thank you, Dr. Bala, for spearheading this, and all my members from the working group who supported this initiative in brainstorming to see how best we can structure this. And I'm very hopeful, and I am sure that all of you who have taken time out from your hectic schedule will definitely take some key takeaways from here and would be able to implement. We are always there, after this roundtable discussions to support you. So feel free to connect with us after this based on any point which you came across and you wish to discuss. So I will not take any more time, and I would like to invite Dr. Bala to take the discussion forward. Dr. Bala, over to you, please.
Thank you, Dr. Punendu, and thank you, Jenny, for a wonderful introduction and setting the context briefly. And from my side, I am Dr. Bala. I am Director of Growth Acting Partners. And I worked in various corporates before I started my journey on my own. And a brief thing is, okay, in case by chance if my connection get disconnected for whatever reason, and I'll be back within a couple of minutes. 99% you can be assured I'll be back in about say a couple of minutes. So you not to worry. So with that, I thank the IET Manufacturing Working Group, the Future Tech Panel, for coming with this very relevant, in my opinion, important, very apt subject for the roundtable. There are so many subjects, but I think this panel has taken the right subject for discussion. And I thank the wonderful panel of entrepreneurs, C4I4, Dattatreya ji, and Professor Rahul for sparing your time. Like Dr. Purnendu said, all of us are busy with so many of our other schedules. So thank you, all of you, for sparing your precious time to share this your thought in this roundtable panel discussion. I'm sure, I think what Vijay Madam told was, it will be recorded and it will be reaching a far wider audience shortly. So what each one of you are going to share, your experiences, challenges, success is going to reach much more than what you are seeing in this panel. So I look forward to each one of you. So context setting. Allow me maybe say 2-3 minutes on what is the context of this, both as a moderator as well as I play a unique role of having worked in the corporate world, and also now I am a business consultant. What is the context of this program? All of you gentlemen and ladies around, doing business is slowly becoming an art rather than a science, if I may say so. This is my opinion. There are a lot of intuition involved. There are a lot of foreseeing things are involved. It's not just like we'll take decision only based on data. I always say it's a VUCA world out there. On one side, you'll find a lot of what we call puzzle events, which are not in your hands, but that is happening in breakneck speed. Whether it is Canada, or whether it is say Taiwan, whether it is China, or whether it is South America, somewhere something is happening which is affecting you and me every day, directly, indirectly. But on the other hand, we have something called innovation, or if I may use the word destructive innovation. They're happening every day, every minute, every second at even more mind-boggling speed. I think all of you know and you agree to that. Gentlemen, we all know Industry 1.2, 2.2, 3.2, 4.2. We all know that, right? They're all called various stages of industrial revolution. Yes, it started with steam, then went to electrical power, then went to computer, then what we call now Industry 4.0, a cyber physical system connecting everything. And gentlemen and ladies, now we are already into Industry 5.0. It's already coming in. So which is nothing but a very collaboration between very powerful and accurate machines and very innovative human beings, and both are working together. It's already coming to Industry 5.0. I was going through the data. Some of the data I was just going through, both as a consultant as well as I call myself a futurist. A lot of interesting data is there. If you observe very closely, the gap between Industry 1.2 and 2.0, the time gap in number of years was about 100 years. Between steam and the electrical power completely coming in, taking over the industry, it took almost 100 years. But if you see the time gap between Industry 2.0 and say 3.0, it was about around 60 to 80 years. Electrical power, using electrical power to invention of computer and bringing in into say manufacturing or into use. It took about 60 to 80 years. Whereas 3 and 4, the gap shrunk to less than 40 years. What you are undergoing now, what we call Industry 4.2 and 3.0, is just about 40 years. And dear friends, now we are already in Industry 5.0, maybe with the gap reducing even further. Now we understand why I said that destructive innovation is happening at a very, very mind-boggling speed. Even before we could understand Industry 4.0, now we are Industry 5.0. Now talking of connected devices, some interesting data I think some of you may be doing just for the sake of everybody to understand. What we call connected devices, connected machines, connected say tools, connected say laptop. It could be anything. Connected devices. Way back in say 1992, it was around 1 million devices were connected between each other, which can communicate between each other. Now, I don't know. I think it is close to 50 billion devices. I am talking of about 1.5 years back, just before Corona. I had to get upgrade about recently. Maybe it would have become maybe 70 or 80 billion because each day it is going at a different speed. Imagine 1 million connected devices. Now 50 or 60 billion connected devices in a very short time. We all will be wondering, okay, so what it has got to do with me? I am in manufacturing. So how does it matter? And can we ignore this digital transformation is a question what I'm asking is happening all around us. Now, generally the thought process amongst our good friends SMEs is digital transformation is not for me. It is meant for big corporates. It could be Tata, it could be Toyota, it could be Benz, it could be Bosch, it could be TVS, but not for SME. The perception is, yeah, it could be expensive, it needs a very high technology, or we are not yet ready to adapt yet. But the fact is, no manufacturing organization can shy away from adapting such digital transformation process. We can't go away. In fact, I would go to the extent of telling it is not a matter of choice, but a matter of survival in many cases. Actually, I would say personally, SME, if it adapts the digital transformation, according to me, it gets what you call the level playing field to compete along with bigger corporations. You know why? According to me, the reason why I say is immediately, normally the smaller companies are more flexible, they are more agile, and they are quick in decision making. And you have the same technology available to so-called bigger companies and SMEs. So, you can be more cost competitive, you can be serving your customer faster. So, digital transformation can be a level playing field or a connection bridge between the bigger corporates and also smaller companies. No more I am small, I am big. Finally, how we adapt the digital technology. In fact, McKinsey went to the extent, I think a couple of years back, 2020, if I remember the date correctly, it says Indian companies, especially Indian companies, if we adapt digital technology or digital transformation, our profits can increase up to 40%. They did conduct survey for various different segments of industry. Their guesses, McKinsey guesses, at least up to 40% profit can increase if you adapt digital transformation across all the processes. Remember Charles Darwin, gentlemen, hundreds of years back, he told something. It is not the strongest of the species that is surviving, or is not the most intelligent of the species that is surviving, but that is the one that is adaptable to change that is going to survive. My dear friends, I feel it is also applicable for as industries and entrepreneurs. Are we adaptable or are we resisting? So it is time to take SMEs to a leap of faith, I feel, and our panel feels, and start transforming the organization going the digital way. Many successful organizations are already doing, not only in the world, even in India. I take another 1 minute because this context is very, very important. Like Dr. Poonen said, we can't be in the middle, sitting in the fence. Should I do? Should I not do? Do we have a choice? One of the things I always look for inspiration is our story of digital payment of India. I know it is not exactly manufacturing, but manufacturing also not much different. Way back in 2015-16, when the thought came that we must introduce digital, payment system, all foreign countries and unfortunately many Indians also thought in various levels, no, it is impossible to do digital payments in India. We are digitally ignorant, we don't have cyber security, we don't have access to internet, we don't, any number of obstacles, we don't have the skill, we don't have whatever, whatnot. But imagine in 2015, the online transaction or digital transaction was in few crores, not even few hundreds of crores, few crores. Now, as we are talking 2021, we have touched $300 billion. I'm talking of US dollars, not in Indian rupee, dollars, $300 billion. And I think CSIL, some study says, we'll be reaching $1 trillion between you and me, the public and the factories, everybody. So it is possible to adapt digital transformation if we remove the mindset that is impossible, not possible, not for me. I think now more than 58 or 60% of the transaction in the currency, it takes place in the digital form. You know that. So we, myself and our IET group is very, very confident that Indian MSMEs will understand the importance of adapting digital technology or transformation and start the journey and start reaping the benefit. Personally, I think the business have to think differently and learn to accept and embrace the technology rather than resisting it for sometimes real reasons. Many times it is imaginary reasons. So we want to use this roundtable, gentlemen, coming to the end of my introductory say talk. In this roundtable, we would like to discuss with a few entrepreneurs who are already there and done that. Some of them who are eager to start the journey, but we want to, through you, we want to know, bring up the points that is required for MSME to start the journey, the challenges faced, and more importantly, the successes, what has been obtained. Some of you have been already implemented. So it will be a learning platform for any other MSME who is thinking whether to do, not to do. So that is what I think this panel discussion and our roundtable discussion will bring out. Now, I think introduction I wanted to do. Thanks to Jenny, I think all of us know each other now. Thank you all the entrepreneurs, and anyway, all of us were introduced by Vijay. And I also thank Dattatreya, who is Executive Director from C4I4 Lab, which is the nodal agency or one of the key agencies for identifying the possibilities of bringing digital transformation. It is through the industry of heavy, Ministry of Heavy Industries, and they are doing a commendable job. So easier to share his thought process on how C4I4 can add value to any MSME. Of course, we have Professor Rahul Nabar, who is from IIT Mumbai, and he has got enormous knowledge in implementation of digital transformation process in especially process industries. I think his knowledge also would be wonderful takeaway to the participants as well as to the audience. Even I am eager to listen to both these gentlemen along with our wonderful entrepreneurs. Now, gentlemen, how we will start is we will start the session now. What I would be doing is I have a few questions. We will go round robin. I will ask a question to say one gentleman. I request you can take maybe 4-5 minutes each for each question so that each person gets say a chance. And in between, I would also be requesting C4I4, Mr. Dattatreya, and also Rahul ji. I'll be asking for their opinion and what they feel, and they can complete this, each round. Maybe we wish, and now the time is 4:14. I think we can have around 3 or 4 questions each, and by the end of the session, I'm sure we all have a lot of takeaways, both as an entrepreneurs who are there in this forum or who are going to listen to the recording. It should be a learning session for everybody. So thank you, gentlemen. I will start, if it is okay, I will start with Mr. Tushar Arora. Mr. Tushar is the CEO of Abilities India Pistons and Rings Limited, Ghaziabad. Very enterprising and very passionate young entrepreneur. And I will start the question starting from Mr. Tushar Arora. Mr. Arora, you can take maybe 4 or 5 minutes. Take your time. And gentlemen, this is not a very formal thing. It can be informal. This is sharing of thoughts, sharing of ideas. So feel free, feel relaxed, and share as much knowledge as you can. Very beneficial to everybody. Yes, Mr. Arora. Why did AAP? AAP stands for Abilities India Piston. Consider bringing digital technology in your process. And how did you choose a system to meet your requirements? Can you please elaborate? Can share your thoughts?
Sure, Dr. Bala. Thank you for this opportunity. It's a pleasure to be here on this forum and sharing with everyone. I hope it can help some people taking that leap to, who are on the fence, as you mentioned, to start the next step. So at EIP, we started our journey in 2018, and we decided that we need to stop the use of paper in general function of daily production, data recording and everything. And another reason was that when data is made in paper, then it's eventually done digitally by manual entries. And then after manual entries are done, the data is usually reviewed. And whenever that data is reviewed, even if one entry is flawed, the whole review goes for a 6 or a toss, right? Everything's kind of spoiled. And then the whole relevance is gone. Because now what was supposed to be something that needs to be discussed and improved is now gone because of some manual data entry. So our first aim was that we have all production entries to be done from the machine, quality entries to be done in the system at the opportune moment and time. And if the same is not done, it is forced entry. Even if it's wrong or correct, it needs to be done or the machine stops. So our aim was to control process parameters, get production entry, get quality data, and get our inventories live at various stages of in process. So that was our main goal. So to do that, we first hired a company because it was very cheap and everything. We started doing everything. 6 months later, we realized it's not even meeting 30% of our goal. So we did 6 months, learned, scrapped the project, and started another way. In this new way, what we realize is that we as entrepreneurs cannot be the sole judge of what to get. So we got demos done by 5 companies in the organization with the whole team sitting and reviewing the process, functionalities, and systems that they offer. So once these 5 or 6 demos are done, the plant decided of which company we need to go to, and luckily the decision was unanimous, and we chose that system. And I don't mind sharing the name. We are working on Think 7 as a system we chose, and that's how we started. And then we decided we're going to make a demo area, and most importantly, the reason of what we told the plant was why we want to implement the system, to make sure that nobody feels threatened that suddenly all data will start going to people. They shouldn't be scared that now management will know everything, now this will come out, that will come out. So it's made very clear that this is to make their job easier. It is going to stop redundancy of work so that they are free to do actual improvements rather than being hassled by daily entries and everything. So once that happened and we started, we took a small place in the company and we started doing that work, whatever was decided. And when the data came, there were many anomalies of what we thought was happening and was actually happening. So slowly, we didn't react. We just said that this is what's happening, we need to improve. And that's how we chose the system and everything started rolling. And then, of course, going into it, it takes some time to implement. So yeah, so that's what we thought, and that's how we progressed, and that's how we chose the system. So yeah.
Oh, great, Mr. Arora. Nice to know that everybody now knows that it is not an easy journey. It is not a success in say a very first step, right? I mean, you need to undergo the trial and error and trial by fire. Thank you so much, Mr. Arora. I think that could be inspiration for others to start the process. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, I'll go to Mr. Siddharth Chennai. This gentleman, again, very young and very passionate gentleman. Say second generation, if I'm right, second generation entrepreneur, running his own organization called Fenger Engineering. I mean, into valves and a lot of engineering, very precise engineering products, and located in Thane. And he also happens to be the immediate past president of Bombay Industries Association. So, welcome, Mr. Siddharth. For you, the query from my side would be, okay. How has been your journey? I think all of us have a story to tell. I'm sure Mr. Siddharth Chennai has got his own story also. Pain, pleasure, success, all kinds of emotions are in his journey, I suppose. So kindly share, Mr. Siddharth Chennai, how has been your experience in your journey as an entrepreneur till now?
Yeah, good afternoon all. Thank you, Dr. Bala, for this invitation. Thank you, IET, and a warm hello to everybody who's here. Thank you, Mr. Tushar, for sharing that experience. I'd like to say, in terms of digitization, we started back in 2012. Now, as Dr. Bala pointed out, that my company is a second generation company. We manufacture safety relief valves, and my company is called Fenger. As a second generation company, you come with second generation challenges as well. So you inherit some of the good and you inherit a lot of the bad. To transform it or take it to the next step. Now, when we started in 2012, I think I was the only one who wanted to get digitization in place, and it didn't have the support of the entire team. Nevertheless, I failed, I think, maybe with 4 or 5 vendors over 6 years, perhaps 6 or 7 years. But nevertheless, I kind of understood that it should be broken into, modules, perhaps, to get a proper result and gain the confidence of each and every team member. So we started off, of course, with the CRM, which was the first end, mapping our customers, trying to understand where we sell, how we sell, trying to get more intimate with our customers. That's the idea of the front end that we started. From then on, it's been easier because once you see the results, and that is what I see is very important, because once the people in your organization start seeing results, they kind of get more excited, and that news spreads. And then it moves on to the next. So the fear is resolved. And I think to resolve any kind of fear, knowledge is the best answer, and awareness is the best answer. And that's something that we've been constant about. It's a constant thing that you keep doing every day. you be in touch and in sync with your people. Of course, the ultimate idea of having any kind of platform of such nature is to make good decisions. So if all your departments are able to understand that there are measurements being created in order to take good decisions and not just to point out mistakes, I think they will support you in the end. So of course, the journey as an entrepreneur is a long story that we will not go there today. But where this part is concerned, that is what I have to share for now. Yeah. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you, Mr. Siddharth. Yes, Mr. Siddharth. Wonderful. I mean, fine. What I heard, and it is a journey which is not easy, especially for a second generation entrepreneur, because the culture comes through from previous generation. Yes, a lot of challenges, as you rightly said, the culture change, which we'll be addressing in some other question also. Thank you, Mr. Siddharth. I'll move on to the next gentleman, Mr. Pradeep Balwankar. He brings a lot of experience to the table, lot of experience. He runs a couple of companies. One is Twin Engineering, another is Soyo Manufacturing Private Limited, and he's the founder and MD of this organization. Brings in really good experience. And I think I'll allow him to speak rather than me speaking more. So from my side, how do you think, I think you're also having electric vehicle related organization. So how do you think the digital technologies are going to be the frontier in, say, EV? Specifically with EV, but you can also touch upon general industry. And what kind of digital technologies or initiatives your company is taken related to your EVs?
Good afternoon, everyone. Basically,
Yes,
let me give a background. We make machines, and what we thought, in 2019, we will offer smart machine to the customers. And we started with a very competitive machine, which was, and in this market segment, most of the European machines were coming, and they were getting attached to the laminator and getting sold, because the laminator manufacturer felt that their brand will get enhanced if they offer the imported machine along with their machines. And we had to break this barrier. How we can break this barrier? By offering a smart machine. That's what we thought, and we started making our machine smarter. And then we joined hands with one small company who really, we talked to Siemens also, we talked to big companies also, and we found their technologies and the sophistication what they're offering is not relevant to our machines. And then we chose a small company, and when 2019, when we started offering this, made a successful trials at our end, and we started offering, this pandemic hit the market, and then the entire thing collapsed. Then what we thought, then the situation changed, and then we started thinking how we can get in, bring into our production and manufacturing systems, this IoT. And then we thought, when we started off and we had a lot of problem with our partner, then we thought we should have a really reliable partner. And then that's how we joined hands with C4I4, and we have been working with the C4I4 for the last 10 months. And now we have come out with the 4 apps, and out of that, what will be the differentiator, what we thought, the service will be the differentiator for this. And when we started with the digital service management app, and what we found that our customers are really happy, and 90% of the complaints which were reaching me got eliminated. And now the people are able to, our service engineer knows what job is to be done, where to go and what to do. And the system is communicating with the customers. And that's how the customer satisfaction index has started going up. And this complaint which were coming to me got reduced. So I get more time to do this. So earlier what was happening, we had a ERP, we had a Zoho, and we had this Fact2HR and all those things. The data was coming, but data analysis was not happening. And we were not able to really come to the conclusion and really take a business decisions. And when the market started opening up for wind, EV and all those things, the rate of change is very fast, what we realize, And to cope up to the rate of change, we need really to focus on development, R&D and all those things. So we need free time. And if our team is really engaged into day-to-day firefighting, then it's very difficult to really bring this change into the market. And secondly, what has started happening, if you see the challenges what small and medium-sized industry is facing, most of the Europeans and Americans, because of the opening up Indian market, they are here as a competitor. And they started poaching our boys also. And the people leaving the companies, where 40% people left the company. And now we have to manage this show. And because we had these apps, ready. The first thing is, as I said, is 4 apps we started with that digital service, e-scheduling, order traceability, shop floor planning, all that was in place so we could manage with the existing team. And we didn't allow anything to go down and business started picking up, we could cope up to this. So that was the advantage we realized with this. And now we are focusing on the sales configurator. So even a day one guy in the company should be able to make an offer fast to the customers. So these are the changes which are happening, and this digital transformation help company to really to face these challenges what industry is facing. Most of the SME companies are also facing this type of problems, and that is how these technologies are helping us to really cope up with the challenges and go to the next level. And as you said, this EV and all that in this sector, all these are big companies, and so they need all the data promptly. So now we work with Toyota TCAP for EV project, and their timetable, they meticulously monitoring the timetable. They wanted the information on time and all that. And these apps were in place, and we could really automate the processes. So they were getting all the information on time. They were recently I visited them, and they were extremely happy the way we manage the project management. So that is the really strength of this digital transformation if we go follow the journey. And as I said earlier that, you need a good partner, and the C4I4 has come out to be a good partner for us. That has really, they are also driving this transformation in our company. Of course, they are also learning, and we are also learning. So we make some mistakes in the process, but then we are moving in forward, and it's helping company to really tackle the challenges what SME is facing as of now. And that's how I think all SMEs can succeed in the marketplace for tomorrow's changes happening today. So that's all from me.
Thank you, sir. Wonderful, sir. Wonderful, Mr. Pradeep Balwankarji. I think, what in this, all this beautiful, all very important for me as I was just listening to Mr. Pradeep Balwankar. What struck me, the maximum was, most of the SMEs, they say that, people turn around. I mean, they leave and go, what to do? My shop floor is stopped. I mean, as he rightly said, he is using a system where a guy who has joined today, he can raise a quotation. I mean, otherwise it would have taken, say 1 month's time. So he has created a system which can make the person not redundant, but take up the job right from day one to work efficiently, which is very, very important. But he is also into certain other things, sir. I will be coming in the next round of question about your smart machines. So what are the smart machines? That knowledge will be very useful to many other people. I'll come back to you, sir. Thank you so much for sharing. Now we'll go to the next entrepreneur who is there, Mr. Vijay Kumar. He is a managing director of Veldomac Engineering in Karnataka, supplying welded parts, welded assemblies to some of the really well-known big names across India. And welcome, sir, Mr. Vijay Kumar. I will start your round with this question. Yours is a little bit different question because your line is, say, fabrication line. Not an easy line to manage. We all know that. It's not like, I mean, it has got its own challenges, pretty huge parts, huge components, a lot of manual work, as I see, as we all know. So, in that context, Mr. Vijay Kumar, what are the digital technology you think your peers maybe in India or your competitors maybe abroad also would be using, which you dream to bring into Veldomac Engineering if it is not already there? Please share your thoughts, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Balasan. So, actually, you rightly pointed out about the industry where we are into. So, it's not so easy one because this industry is quite conventional, and a different kind of legacy is already there in this industry, which is very difficult to just get away with. So, the important part is like how just to contain this, because yes, as when we talk about this fabrication and this welding part as a manual intervention, at the same time there is a skill set also involved. But because it's a heavy fabrication, very difficult to just automate and just bring robotics everywhere. But at the same time, how you bring that kind of digital intervention, just keeping the manual intervention also intact, and also just get away with that kind of quality deviation, apprehension, and all. So when I personally started this company and just saw this particular process and everything, because I was when I was not an entrepreneur and working with the different companies and saw these processes across different companies, well-established companies and all. So they have a huge setups, huge practices, SOP, Japanese intervention, experts, or every time there's a lot of audit and things. But yes, for the SME, on the very small and micro scale of industry, it's very difficult to create that kind of dash. So and why? Because there are a lot of non-standardization across SMEs, and it's very difficult to afford that kind of cost, bringing all those kind of expertise into. So it's important, like how you just create that kind of approach, which basically can take away this monopolistic behavior, and this kind of operational inclusion by such kind of manual intervention complexity. So what we thought of, like, let's first get into, not talk about the industry 4.0, just let's talk about the industry 1.0, or maybe nothing. In fact, just standardizing the process itself and just creating a confidence among the pool of workers, like how we can be repetitive, how we can be more consistent, correct? So what could be the guiding factor? So the important part was, like, when we started this journey, so first we tried to just create a balance, like how we can create a visibility of flow in terms of processes, that transparency without creating a kind of fully automatic process. So it's more of important part is like creating an image flow system, then PDI checklist, and now when we are creating different kind of interim checklist and PDI kind of things, or at each stage level, then how we can bring this as an acknowledgement as the part of the process flow. So we started of thinking of bringing some kind of system which can just lock this kind of checklist and create a kind of acknowledgement and accountability of each stages, where you cannot create a deviation, and at the same time you can also benchmark. Okay, so that's where we started first thing, and we established a kind of, you can say, a very basic level of digitization, and that create a mistake proofing in the process. Okay, so while you are creating everything in the manual, but at the same time you're just trying to create this kind of locking, this kind of accountability, responsibility, and you can say a very rudimentary style of block technology. Okay, so when we talk about this blockchain and all, it is more of like creating a different kind of blocks or history and chain, which you can easily trace and track, correct? So our idea was, let's create this kind of traceability in that fashion, where we can easily just retrieve the data, and that tool can always help and track and trace the things whenever you want at any point of time, whether it's a warranty kind of claim or whether it's kind of field returns management and RCA kind of process. So that was first thing which we started with the thing. I won't say like I am like just looking at any kind of foreign process and things, because that was a very far fetched dream for us, just bringing that. But more of thing like it was totally missing even in the foreign also, and in India that is the need for this small and micro segment. So creating that kind of visibility and transparency through a minimum level of digital intervention. Then we just started pointing out the standalone system which were working in the complete island basis. Okay, there, and the linkages were missing. So how just to create an assimilation so that this aggregation of the process, that linkages can be created, and now this impact of one particular stage can be easily you can say the gauge at the different stages, and then the final PDI can be assessed and acknowledged like all the stages have been correctly ticked. Okay, so that was also an attempt which we started. So that was the very first level, and we started creating that little digital intervention also. Then we started taking off a few particular things in terms of like hidden cost, like hidden margins, and the products were like there were a lot of variable costs were setting. So how to just take out those redundancy in the process, how to just take care of those kind of repetitive nature of jobs. Okay, then and then certain kind of rework and things which were it's a regular practice in the process. So that was the second level we started getting into that. And then there was a kind of, you can say, in the normal manual intervention of process, you will find most of the time there are many activities which are having a natural progression. Okay, very heuristic kind of approach which you cannot eliminate. It's the inherent issues and it's a human nature also. whatever you bring in the system as a machine or so, it's very difficult to just get away with that. So then how you can create a system intelligence just to take care of that part? Yes, that those kind of deviation and natural progression will be there, but these are the natural behavior, that is, you can say the biological deviation happens. Okay, so even and technology also, you just see the things are, we are very much you can say biased with the biological processes. So we should think like, let's learn from there itself, and let's create this kind of intelligence in the system, which can in fact take care of such kind of deviation in any kind of circumstances. Okay, so this was another level of attempt which we did, at least in my
Good.
this Veldomac industry, in a part of processes correction with the digital thing. Yeah.
Very good, sir. I think Mr. Vijay Kumar. I don't know, Mr. Vijay Kumar. First time I so nicely, connecting, bringing a blockchain, basic level blockchain technology into welding industry in a very rudimentary way. Wonderful, Mr. Vijay Kumar. What I was impressed was, which is what we'll be touching upon later in the day. One, you have to start with a robotic process automation for digital, transformation. One can always start with the very basic things. Is what I would say the takeaway from the answer what Mr. Vijay Kumar gave for his, this particular query. Okay, now we'll go to the experts. There are two experts are there. We'll start with Mr. Dattatreya. He is the executive director of C4I4. I think all of us heard through Mr. Pradeep also. I think I think he should be pitching in now. And I request Mr. Dattatreya to please share with the whole team how C4I4 was established, and what is the intention of creating such a laboratory. I mean, with this, maybe 2-3 minutes we can give the introduction. Of course, we'll come back to cover much more about what C4I4 is doing. Please, sir.
So, thank you, Dr. Bala, for this kind words. Just to give you a little bit of background, so there is a central government of India's program called Samartha Udyog. So all of us understand Samartha. Samartha means capable, and Udyog is industry. So, but actually Samartha is an acronym. Samartha stands for Smart and Advanced Manufacturing and Rapid Transformation Hub. So there are two parts to it. Smart and Advanced Manufacturing is one part, and Rapid Transformation Hub is second part. So this whole Samartha Udyog came into existence about 3 years back in 2018. As a fallout of Make in India, idea was that Indian manufacturing should adopt the digital transformation journey, and rather it's not adopt, they should accelerate on this adoption so that our competitiveness will enhance. And to enhance that competitiveness, so ultimately you become a Samartha or capable industry. So that is the idea. And with this in mind, there were 4 centers which got established. One in Delhi, 2 in Bangalore, and the one which I'm representing is based in Pune. We have some common points which we work together, and we have a few things on our own also we deal with. So that's how the mandate has said. This is a very interesting public-private partnership program where industry, academia, government, all these stakeholders are equally involved as a part of Samartha Udyog program. Having said that, C4I4, we said that we'll work with creating awareness about these new technologies, because when we started our work through Tata Strategic Group, we did a survey of all large as well as small companies to understand what kind of support these companies will need. And it was with the intent that we should do something which is industry is going to need, rather than creating something on our own. And with that in mind, we put together that we'll build awareness about technology. Today, 3 years back, the awareness was through either Google presentations or PowerPoint presentations, or people who visit outside India, they will participate in exhibitions and they'll understand that. So that was the thing. Today, of course, many people know many things, but 3 years back, that was not the situation. So we said we'll create a knowledge pool or awareness pool. And that is how we all started. We have set up an experience center where people can actually have a touch and feel kind of a thing, how our technology works, how the data flows, right from digital twin to data sensing technologies to how we build data analytics or intelligence out of that. So all that there is some kind of a touch and feel, and all our factories are, whatever one may say, are functional. So we are quality managers or maintenance head or production head. So we need to talk that language rather than looking at RFIDs or sensors, because that comes in as a technology provision. But first is why I'm using it. So that's how this whole thing was, that C4I4 we said we'll create this entire awareness piece, and so that is how the thing came out. So that's I think Dr. Bala, from my side, how this C4I4 came into existence.
Wonderful, sir. Wonderful, Mr. Dattatraya. Very important that the team should know, people who are in this forum right now, and also people who may be listening to this, recorded, say, broadcast later. People should know that there is C4I4 created by government of, it's like public-private partnership, and there is a gentleman called Mr. Dattatraya who is in Pune, who are ready to help the organization to start their digital journey, which is very, very important. Many entrepreneurs may not know where to start from. So I think you are given the right context, Mr. Dattatraya. So thank you. We'll come back to you with more queries. Now comes Professor Rahul Nabar. He is a professor from IET Mumbai, and he brings a lot of knowledge in the process industry. He is a specialist in process industry and chemical industry. I would request Professor Rahul Nabar to give us some insights on what are the digital transformation possibilities are available in the field of process industries. Maybe 3-4 minutes. I mean, I know because we may not be directly, there may not be any participant in this group related to process industry, but process industry plays one of the very big role in India. So that can be very insightful, Professor Rahul Nabar. Please share your insights.
Thank you, Dr. Bala. And in an interesting way, some of the entrepreneurs talking, before me, take Mr. Chennai. A lot of the equipment that he was talking about fits right into the process industries. Or take fabrication. Process industries have a lot of heavy fabrication, and one of the lessons that I discovered that a lot of possibilities exist at these interfaces. The interfaces of suppliers. I mean, let's take an example. Let's take a safety relief valve. Right now, if you go to a process plant, you may have some equipment with a valve which was purchased, say, 5-10 years ago. And people go through dusty files to find spec sheets and all that. And I see a lot of promise, say, for example, in digitalization, to integrate these sort of systems, systems between the vendors, the suppliers, and the actual process industry. I'll give you another example. Mr. Pradeep was alluding to how sometimes there is a push from vendors. And I'm seeing a lot of this in the process industry. You may have an SME in India. By itself, it may not have digitalized so fast. But what happens is now you're supplying to a vendor, a customer, say, based in the US or Germany. And these vendors are exerting a lot of push, not just on digitalization of the supply chain part of it, but also other things like safety and other critical aspects, right? So in that sense, the process industry, or for a lot of industries, I think the boundaries are much larger. Right? Now, that being said, I think the process industry, there's a huge opportunity because we have been behind the curve. Certain sectors, I mean, take automotive or EVs, they are early adopters. I think there's a lot more digitalization out there. Process industry, by its nature, has been very cautious, conservative. There's a lot of regulatory implications, safety implications, right? But as it happens, I'm seeing a lot of potential for Indian industries. And the trajectory for the Indian process industry, or for a lot of Indian SMEs, will be quite unique because, when I travel to, say, Germany, a lot of those companies already had automation kick in, say, the 80s and 70s, pneumatic controllers, DCS, PLCs, and now they're trying to figure out how to digitalize. But in India, we have a significant portion of the industries, at least in the SMEs, which are still substantially manual. So digitalization is a huge opportunity, but a lot of them may be skirting some of the traditional steps and going directly to digitalization. So that's something, again, unique about the Indian context. There's a lot of liberation of what I call dark data. So if you go to many of the SME smaller companies, you have data in logbooks. Somehow what has happened is there's a lot of advances on the software side of things, but where people struggle is putting it all together. So the systems integration, getting sensors at the right price points for, say, the Indian scenario. So there is lot of opportunities to be done. And I don't think digitalization, at least in the process industries, is easy. And for a lot of SMEs, I think it has a huge potential, and that's where forums like these are very useful. We need a lot more white papers, actionable, right? Not just the hype or the glamour. And I'm glad to note that we at some of the working groups, there are similar white papers which are coming out in the near future. So I think that's going to help a lot. I mean, even take the speaker before me, Mr. Dattatray's initiative. I myself wasn't aware of it till about a month ago when the discussion started at IET. So I think there's a lot of stuff around which people can use to digitalize, but getting the message out there and figuring out how to go about it, I think that is going to be the challenge. And once you get across that, there's a huge amount of potential. So those are some of my initial comments, Dr. Bala.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor. Now, important thing what the professor was telling is, yes, the knowledge or the awareness where to go, how to start itself is half battle one. I think this IET Roundtable program may partially address that. We hope so. Yes, Professor. Now we'll go for the second round. Now the time is now 4:46, 47. Yeah, I think we are going more or less on time. Maybe another, say, 2-3 rounds will come back so that we cover all aspects of the journey. Maybe, crisply we can finish maybe 3-4 minutes each and can finish off. Still. Okay, back to Mr. Tushar Arora. Mr. Tushar, from your side, what do you think? Where the various, you are trying a lot of things, we are aware. But for the team, what are the various digital transformation, say, tools or the paths that you are taking in AAP to bring into your factory and the process? Can you explain various digital transformation processes that you are adapting in your factory, please?
Right, Dr. Bala. I mean, it's a pleasure to hear everyone on their journey. It's like everybody finds their own niche, on how to leverage that for their organization. And believe me, we also started, as Siddharth had mentioned in the beginning, they started 2012. I think that was the very initial of digitization. So when we started also, we were like, okay, so let's do this. So I actually had a passion for this. I was like, I really enjoy this. So let me show the benefits that we've seen around the world and let people have a glimpse of that. So when we started, and everything, we decided we're not going to spend on infrastructure. We're not going to get a big team. So everything we'll try and do, and we'll do it on the cloud. So starting doing on the cloud, whenever we started small, there is internet issue, there is fiber line issue, there is connection issue, wiring layout issue. You cannot have Ethernet cables next to power cables. They create noise. You need SMPS for machine connection. So all this was a struggle. And so if we decided we have to do it in one machine, it didn't happen in like a day. It took like a month and a half. So teething issues were always there, and one needs to be prepared and not get disheartened and slowly find ways to overcome them. That's what we realized is patience was key. So when we started with one thing, which is the cloud software to get data, so we realized once this data is coming, but approvals, small paper pushing stuff, all that is happening offline again with papers and other stuff. So we took a course on Google. So we started leveraging Google Workspace. So instead of using Excel and Word and everything, we started using Google everywhere. And internal emails that were on an internal server also were done on Google. We created our own intranet. So all our data and everything is actually on a website, which is accessible only to our company and our employees. And we have various paths on who can access. So for CRM, only marketing will have access. For company data, only with email ID you can access within the organization. And even 4M change, 4M change was always a task. Kaise karna hai? How will you maintain the record? So we actually automated Google Forms. So once a 4M change happens, the associate takes out his phone. He has the link. There's a small app that's made through Google, and he puts in the data. Escalation happens. He takes a snapshot from his phone of the actual sheet, and data is stored. And he's like, sir, this is phenomenal. I don't have to keep any record. Even if this sheet goes away in 10 minutes, I have no problem because it's accessible. It's there. I have a timestamp. There is proof. And there's a proof that it was checked and who checked it. And all this happened with simple Google form. I mean, what did we spend on it? 60, 70,000 rupees a year on all these people? It's nothing. So slowly we started leveraging and getting process automation, auto escalations. All our HR started moving online. So our skill matrices, people skill cards, everything is online. You go online, is part mein kya complaint aaya hai, you can just go search it. We'll show you the complete history. So anytime a new part setup happens, the person, the supervisor opens it, explains everyone on the line, this is what has happened, this is good, this is bad, these 10 things I have to take care of, and suddenly everything is there in a minute. So all these things started changing people. And now if I ask someone, can you work without the system? They're like, sir, no chance. Who will I go ask? Where will I go find? So we started using cloud system for data collection. Next step is to go to traceability. Then we got automation done ourselves. So we trained 5-6 people in our company on Google through an outside source. And we spent a lot of money on training, but these 5 people transform each department. So our MR transformed whole of manufacturing and process. Our IT person improved every other department through development and everything. Our HR, the girl in HR, she has all our HR data online, all our reviews, everything is done. So once we had this system, then energy was an issue. So we got another system for energy. Right now we have 4 or 5 systems running. Then we got a system for feasibility. Now traceability is coming in. So all these things together have made our life very easy. Of course, it took time and some perseverance, but we see the benefits now. And most importantly, what we did once we started getting these things, we have so much data. So now with this data, we have to put it in people's reviews. So a stronger review mechanism started happening. We incentivized people to perform better. Since our OEs and everything started coming live, we actually saw the improvements happening. So people were incentivized. So we started an incentive scheme for the whole company based on OEE, quality, production, and customer satisfaction and safety. So we put these parametrics in place and everybody gets a separate incentive. So the company is doing well, everyone should do well. So that way the people mentality started changing. Everybody started pushing forward to grow. And transparency never became an issue because data is displayed every day because it's accessible. Otherwise, imagine at the month of the end, you're collecting data, making an incentive sheet, making this, that takes everything away from it. So yeah, getting a few systems in place, having some perseverance, and then linking it to reviews and incentive was the big change on how the system actually started getting adopted. So that bring out a good change for us. Yeah, thank you, Dr. Bala.
Wonderful, Mr. Tushar. Wonderful. See, I mean, I was just listening very carefully. Thank you, Mr. Tushar. I think this will be a takeaway for many of us. It is not just, we always say as the consultants at senior level of management, we always say what gets monitored gets controlled, what gets controlled gets improved. A very fantastic way how Mr. Tushar explained how starting from smallest things like traceability, from there, I mean, without spending much time or energy, it gets automatically goes into Google, and using simple tool called Google, how transformation is possible without investing in a big things. I mean, it's still possible. And very nice thing is club that and finally brought to the result. The carrier KPI is connected with the result, and that is based on data. And one needed to sit in the month end and prepare all the data because anytime it is available. Fantastic, Mr. Tushar. I think a good takeaway for every one of us. Yes, now we go to Mr. Siddharth Chennai. Mr. Chennai, okay, I know there are a lot of challenges faced by most of us entrepreneurs. Now we have been seeing only the plus side, positive side, but there are a lot of challenges. Though Mr. Tushar gave some challenges what he faced during initial phases. Typically, as an entrepreneur, what do you think? And especially you are the immediate past president of Bombay Industry Association, where you will have the years of so many other organizations also other than your organization. So, what are the typical challenges faced by an entrepreneur in the journey towards digital transformation as things stands today? Can you please elaborate, Mr. Siddharth?
Okay, so first of all, I'd like to go back a little bit to what Mr. Rahul said. I think he kindly, actually, I've been smiling ever since because he identified the process industry absolutely correctly. It is a slow-moving, very cautious industry, but that also shows how much opportunity is there, for those who want to be a little bit more disruptive and get some unique services out there along with their product. So that is something that perhaps I can discuss with them at a later time. Also, I was smiling when Tushar was speaking because that is the exact journey that we are on. And like feasibility, traceability, that is exactly what we're trying to achieve. In fact, I'm happy that he's succeeding with it. And perhaps I will on another day talk with him also on the same subject. Love to discuss that further. Okay, so in terms of challenges, I think primarily SMEs tend to underestimate the strength of their own people. That's what I've noticed for it's a very generic point of view. It's not specific to any company. Usually what happens is because most of the companies have been micromanaged, or like if it's a startup, it's micromanaged. If it is the second generation, again, there is a different kind of management that the people are habituated to, being under or supervised, it's very important to bring these performance management systems in place and give importance to HR, which I think does not happen. I could say it happens, but it's not very well regulated in the SME space. So that is one thing which I feel is important. Secondly, digitization the first thing I would like to do is to stop signing checks. That is one thing that is also very important. How many checks can you sign? And that's something that I'm also working on right now. So these are little things that we need to come out of and work more into revenue generating activities, that I feel is a challenge to most SMEs. And they come through their own various, regulations that they have to face, which they tend to block the actual thought of what the business is for. So that's what happens. It's quite kind of suffocating, but there are people who, like I said, are constant in their perseverance and they tend to overcome it over a period of time. But I feel that's a lot of waste of energy. A lot of things could happen, and a lot of waste of time in the process. So yeah, these are one of the few challenges. Of course, it's very unique to unique industries and unique companies. But generally speaking, this is what I can perhaps have to offer in terms of what I know. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Siddharth. Obviously, what Mr. Siddharth said is also applicable to many other industries, no doubt at all. I think he touched up on a very valid point. Not many are like what Mr. Siddharth is telling. Of course, that shows that one is a progressive entrepreneur and is a second generation entrepreneur. Most of the time, much smaller, not Mr. Tushar, not the gentleman in this panel, but personally, I've seen many entrepreneurs, they take a lot of pride in telling, look, Dr. Bala, without me, my company cannot. Look, I only manage everything. But what Mr. Siddharth says exactly reverse, like what the consultant say is telling. Yes, micromanagement will not help any entrepreneurs anymore. We need to, and in fact, Mr. Tushar also touched upon this in a different context. Yes, we need to free our time. And as rightly said, you want to stop signing checks. Okay, that doesn't mean, yes, what he means, I understand is, okay, make the process in such a way that there are lesser checks to sign or somebody else is taken care so that Mr. Siddharth can look into the future of what to do by doing digital transformation. Thank you, Mr. Siddharth. And we'll go to Mr. Pradeep, our experienced entrepreneur. Very interesting. I was just going through his website and his missions. Very wonderful, sir. I think maybe you can just share quickly. What made Twin Engineering Limited, which is your other organization, to bring in Industry 4.0 into the machines manufactured by you? Because your missions, as I saw, went through, I myself being from machine tool background line, I was curious to know what is that? Your talk of smart maintenance, smart support, smart insight, and you made a very valid comment during the end of the program. I'll touch upon that. You said one of the best way to compete with the global competition is become more efficient or adapt digital technology. So what made Twin Engineering to bring all these smart things into your machines? Please elaborate, sir. Mr. Pradeep.
See, basically, when you want to compete in the global market, because India has become a global market now, and all the global players are competing with you. And still, made in India brand is not very, still dominant. So, made in Europe is still perceived as a good quality. And when you want to compete in this circumstances, what we thought, if the customer gets all his data on his mobile, like your live data, like downtime analysis, process capability, production status, and consumption. Because this, what machine we make, they use a lot of adhesives, and these adhesives being a consumables. If they save money on that, this is a big saving for them. So these are the features if you bring into the machine, and then we can really compete in this market, and that has really helped. Because what I felt that, and that's what I'm convinced, unless until you bring technological changes, you cannot sustain in this competitive environment and the fast changing environment. So these are the two challenges industry is facing. Fast change, things are changing very fast, and if you want to really bring the changes and adapt to the changes happening, the technology only can help. And this smart machine, what we build, and we bring it the data on the mobile, because most of the customers are small and medium-sized companies, and their owners, they don't have time. And if they get the data on their mobile, that will be really helpful them to take a decision and really look into the problem and how they can improve their productivity of the machine and their profitability. And that is the reason. But we thought, we should bring this features into the machine and we go into the market. But there are challenges to sell this technology to the market. India being a price-sensitive market, people are not ready to really invest into the technologies. That's why it's taking slow pace to really sell this type of machine to the market. And this pandemic also hit, and that's why they are very cautious about investments. So that is also hitting us back, and so we have to go back and start selling again conventional machines so that we can compete. But there is an acceptance. They need to go for this. Instead of today, they will go for tomorrow. And that is what we realized when we started offering into the market. So there is still resistance, but that resistance can be overcome once they get the fruits out of this. So, and secondly, this manufacturing processes inside the company also. That is where it's really helping us. These technologies are helping us to really improve the efficiency internally. So these are the two thoughts with which we went ahead and we started implementing. And we are getting slow but steady response from the market. But internally, our boys are really thrilled to use these digital technologies, these apps, and they really improve the performance inside the company. And because of that, the service is really improved a lot. And service is improved, that is giving a competitive advantage over the competition, even the Europeans, because they know that they get a service, their machine downtime is zero, they get a prompt service, and that's why we are again back on track, you can say. And they will definitely, because the service is good, and then they will go for a smart machine. That is what we felt, and we are going ahead with this assumptions in the market.
Excellent, sir. Excellent, Mr. Pradeep, because I've seen your machines. Gentlemen, what I just want to add is he's been very humble. Mr. Pradeep, time has already come. People will remember, people will realize, people will recognize the smart machine, what we are producing. Because even in our panel, there are very young and energetic, say, entrepreneurs in Mr. Tushar or Mr. Siddharth or Mr. Vijay Kumar. I mean, that second generation are the people who are really willing to invest a little bit more so that they can reap much more benefits. I think things are changing, Mr. Pradeep. I think soon you will have more and more support for your smart machine. But what I liked is also one important thing is, yes, we should have data in our fingertips. I am fortunate and I am glad that some of the entrepreneurs in this panel itself, I have seen them using this data on a minute-to-minute basis, whether it's the OE of the machine. In fact, in some other forum, I know some of my friends, or even I use in my own working life. In my mobile, I know what is say power being produced in my generator as of that minute. Not even for production machines. How many CFM of compressed air is being pumped out from the compressor on that day? So what is the power cost on that minute? And finally, most importantly, gentlemen, especially for business leaders and entrepreneurs, we all must go to sleep each day knowing what is the profit as on that day, YTD or year to date or month. If we don't know what is the profit or loss of our respective organization on that day, if we don't have that data and if we go to sleep, I think we are missing something. I mean, that's what personally I always say to all our clients as well as also to my friends. Do you know what is the profit of your organization as of this moment? If you have that kind of information at your fingertips, then I think we would have done justice as a business leader. Thank you, Mr. Pradeep, for sharing your wonderful thoughts. Now we'll go to Mr. Vijay Kumar. Sir, now coming to Mr. Vijay Kumar. One minute. Yes, sir, you are here. Yes, sir. Now, what are the changes? Challenges. See, we discussed, some of our other friends also discussed, sir, about various challenges of bringing technologies. But coming back to your industry, because IET panel, we made sure that there are representation from different types of industry. Yours is, again, as I said, very challenging industry. So what type of challenges you foresee to bring such technologies in India, in your line or your business? What do you foresee as a future technology? And what do you think should be the course of action either in your industry or similar industries to bring such technologies into India? You can elaborate, Mr. Vijay Kumar.
Yeah, Mr. So challenges, if you just see at that down level, which I am talking about, that small and micro industries, the first foremost important thing is like cost implication. Okay, just bringing such kind of products and things. The very foremost apprehension which comes to the owner or any management or any decision making guy is like how can we implement such kind of automated processes? Whether it is like very low cost also, but it's very difficult to visualize because they don't know like how far it will go once we like start their journey. Okay, and so that becomes a first apprehension towards it. It's very difficult to get them consummated over there. So that is first thing. Second thing, like just that inertia which you normally build across this processes over the time, so it becomes very difficult to come over that inertia. So I just give you one example. So when I started, then I basically classified the complete value chain in 4M part. Okay, so as we know, the big M, that manufacturing, not only the production part, I just see manufacturing not as a small M, as a big M. So it's a complete inbound, outbound logistic, quality, then your production, your this materials planning, your design, development, new product, out even your sales and marketing also, which gives lots of input from the field to your upstream level. So I just see as like your first thing is your man part, your material part, which basically work as raw material and other stuffs. Then your method, your process part, and the machine. So normally for me is a very standard word people know. So now I just explain a quick example. So when I just try to classify all these categories, then try to identify like which are the things which I can just look at in terms of making all those things very standardized and just creating a very standard kind of format and KPI, because it's very important. You cannot keep customizing these things across all, because it becomes very difficult to have a very easy deployment. So the main daunting task is and challenging thing is like just creating a very standard template. As you see, a very good example in terms of looking at Tally software. Okay, so Tally is a very you can say I would say it's very successful kind of thing, even better than ERP. Okay, so big organization has deployed the ERP, but the kind of success what the this Tally is having across this SME sector, I won't say like these ARPs are making that kind of thing. Okay, but the important part is like, so that kind of standardization where like a lot of variation and complexities also coexist. So there, how you create that kind of synergy. So when we started, so we started identifying very standard format of working. Okay, very in a very conventional way. So let's, if I talk about the man, then what kind of roster planning you do every day, and what kind of mapping and deployment you do across your different stages of processes. Then how you do that changeover of the man during the different shifts. Okay, then how you try to do the resource tracking. Let's, who was doing that welding in that shape, who was making that kind of fitment, who was doing that kind of operation or the machining thing. So how you create that kind of resource tracking, it is required across all the industry. It doesn't matter whether you're in the building or whether you're in the chemical industry. So then check and controls for this thing. So this is the man part. So creating this kind of standard format, making things. So these were the like a kind of mitigation which we just try to put in place against the challenges, which became very easy to deploy across. So that's what like the few challenges which I just wanted to highlight over here for such kind of industries.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Vijay Kumar. Thank you. We'll come to Mr. Dattatreya. Sir, okay, now we have around, say, 20 minutes. We don't want to take your precious time after 5:30. What I will do is I'll club 2 questions, but all connected questions, Mr. Dattatreya. Now, we know what C4I4 can do. There is a living example, Mr. Pradeep is there. So, where you're already helping when there is a living example in the same forum. Now, how C4I4 can support Indian SME ecosystem to innovate and adapt, say, digital transformation? And what is the process and methodology followed by C4I4 in creating such support system for Indian SME? Maybe 2-3 minutes we can tell. Of course, I think most of the people would be connecting back to you to learn more about this. But for general information, Number one, how C4I4 can support SME ecosystem, and what is the process and methodology followed by C4I4?
So, just to put it across, see, what we are doing, firstly, we're creating some role models, and like Vijay Kumar or Tushar or Siddharth. So on a similar note, we are also trying to work with Mr. Pradeep of such companies. So having said that, manufacturing is into different verticals. Like Mr. Rahul spoke about process industry. If you look at automotive or auto component or engineering companies, they're either assembly plants or machining plants or foundries or forging units. So we really want to create a one-star model which can inspire others to follow, and in a way create a star which will really see visibly some benefit at his operations, or look at it from a different thing. So having said that, the just now what we are working on is we launched a program called iFactory Alliance, which is nothing but alliance of such companies which can work together. They can share their experiences, and those experiences can become part of success stories. We are more like an enabling organization purely from that angle. This is what we're doing. So in the next program of iFactory Alliance, we are working with one foundry and one forging unit. See, Pradeep runs a company which is more like a equipment manufacturing, and his assembly setups are different than foundry or forging areas. And there the priorities for the plants are different and more challenging than the processes which Pradeep looks at. Because here, and our whole focus is that how do we improve our customer experience and how do we improve our employee convenience. Because if employee convenience is taken to a next level, or customer experience, that's why Pradeep, when he spoke about the service, he is really looking at how customers can be served better and make that Indian product on par with any international product. Same way, looking at a foundry or forging, the energy is something which is a very high priority area. Or how rapidly I can develop a prototype, it becomes a challenge for them. So we have mapped the entire foundry and forging units, how they can, and we look at end-to-end value chain. We don't look at one small area of operations, and work with the company for about close to 6 to 8 months till the time the company on their own takes its own journey further. Because we can't be there for lifelong. For us, we can be there for a certain period of time, and so that's how we sort of, as an enabling organization, we work with. Anyone who would like to become part of this, they can reach out to us. We have some standard process where we actually understand the factory, what all thing, and many of the things are our diseases are common, so we don't need to reinvent the wheel again. It's like if I so a lot of learnings which we share. That is the one part. Secondly, we also have developed a startup ecosystem in terms of developing some digital applications or developing some automation areas. So the startup ecosystem also supports these organizations fairly well. I'll put it this way. And so that's how the whole entire model at C4I4 works.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Dattatreya. In fact, he's been, of course, due to paucity of time, I think, given the time, Mr. Dattatreya can take almost 1 hour explaining how C4I4 lab can help every one of the SMEs. Kindly go through the website. They're doing a wonderful job. As you rightly said, the medicine could be same for many industries, and they're also coming with a new novel ideas of how industry can be benefited. Please do keep in touch with him sometime. And we'll go to Professor Rahul Nabbar. Sir, your couple of minutes of your thought on the important thing is the skill gap. Of course, we are all used to traditional way of working. Now, when you bring digital transformation or digital, talk, now comes the skill gap. How do you think the skill gap can be plugged while implementing or adopting digital transformation? Professor Rahul, please.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Bala. So I think that's a great question, and there's a couple of dimensions to it. One is obviously outreach, continuing education programs, especially for some of the industries where the top management or middle management may have graduated from colleges in an area where a lot of these tools were not available. So that's one. But that brings me to one of the points that Siddharth made. What I find is, at least on the consulting side, a lot of the success stories are places where digitalization has some sort of a champion. He may be a second generation entrepreneur or somebody who has come a little later, and they face a lot of skepticism. I mean, it's not easy, and there's two angles to it. So one is, I don't think people should digitalize just for the sake of it. At the end of it, you got to make a business case for it, right? And so that's not always very easy. But on the other hand, there is a leap of faith involved. At some point you have to say, look, I want to digitalize. But if on day one you say, okay, how is transforming your paper notebooks into an e-system going to improve my profits in the next 3 months or 6 months? That answer is often not available, right? So that is a sort of a fine line there. One of the examples that Siddharth said, signing checks. I see so many such examples. I mean, take quality control. A lot of data sheets just get passed around with a lot of people signing it. And this is what I call the non-glamorous part of it. So a lot of digitalization, much of the hypes around things like robots or dark factories, crypto, blockchain, and I'm sure there's a place for that. But a lot of the applications are just getting your ERP system to talk to your DCS system, or converting a paper flow into an electronic flow, right? So that is not often appreciated. The second thing is, I think we do need a curriculum revision. So even at IITs, especially me, since I'm an adjunct faculty, I do consulting as well. So we are all debating about how we incorporate some of these concepts so that the next generation of students that come out are more sensitized. It's also about getting various disciplines to talk to each other. So what often happens is you need an instrumentation guy to implement it, or an IT guy, but you want a domain guy with enough of an understanding that you can talk to these other guys. And one of the points that Mr. Pradeep made, I think that is also super important, which is the price-sensitive nature of the Indian market, right? So if you have a very price-sensitive industry, it's difficult to roll this out. That's reality. But I think the solutions have been about thinking outside the box. So, for example, I have known certain people who were selling to Indian customers. Now you digitalize, but the only way you can make it happen is now you start selling the same pressure relief valves or reactors to a customer sitting in Germany or the US who appreciates those things, an electronic data sheet or a product selector online, right? So sometimes your whole business model has to change. People have gone from making ingredients or a low-cost chemical to a higher-cost chemical. So oftentimes digitalization is also, it succeeds when you sort of do in parallel a shift of your business strategy. And so one last point is, we sort of split between, what's the literature out there? One, as an academic, I take blame that, there are research papers out there, but which practitioner is going to read a 20-page research paper? I mean, that's meant for mainly driving research and improving devices, and that's perfect. On the other hand, you have vendors who are pushing stuff, but, they have a different, it's all a lot of hype, sometimes glamour, right? But this practitioner, right? We need organizations like IET and other guys coming up with more actionable intelligence for people like SMEs who have to actually roll it out, and which can't be the research side of it, and neither can it be the vendor-oriented stuff. So those are probably, in the interest of time, that's it. Those are my quick comments on that. Yeah.
Thank you, Professor. Now we have got around 10 minutes, 10 to 12 minutes. Maybe kindly allow me to take maybe 3-4 minutes more. Now, like some TV shows say, let us come to kind of rapid fire kind of thing. So that now maybe a couple of minutes, but important question, but couple of critical points I think each one of us can touch to wind up this. So it will be very useful. Starting from Mr. Tushar, maybe a couple of minutes from each one of you I would appreciate. Now, it needs cultural change. Any transformation needs cultural change. So I would pose 2 queries to Mr. Tushar. Mr. Arora, what are the cultural challenges you face? Number 1. And how do you sustain and review the system? These are the 2 important critical points. Quickly you can touch upon, please.
Sure, Dr. Bala. So I think review is something that we started doing as soon as our data started becoming there on the system and on time, which of course everybody is not used to. So For some time, we had to run two systems in parallel. One is the paper trail and one is the digitization system. So we kept reviewing. Of course, there were issues, people used to bypass the interlocks and this and that, but we let all that happen. And it was made clear that if anything needs to be done, just make sure you get approval, and the approval is for a limited time. You get the problem sorted, it's horizontally deployed, and the same continues. So after about 9 or 10 months, we started having a daily review in the evening at 5, which was only that all reviews will now only happen on the digital system with the paper trail in hand available. So after about, say, a couple of months, everybody kind of got used to it. Initially, the effort was key if everybody knows all the data and productivities, what are done in the night and what are done in the day are kind of different. So all that started going away. But the biggest thing that for us is not to react, which I noticed is that everybody sees anything bad, your instant innate nature is to react and get it sorted like right now. So that keeping quiet part was a change for the upper management and middle management, and telling people, no, like, look, I know you're doing this wrong. You've been doing this wrong for past so many years. I don't know. I don't care. I cannot reverse it. But we will not do it like that from tomorrow because we know what's happening. Okay. Just a simple word like that to a few people kind of changed the mindset around everyone in the company slowly. They said, admit your mistakes. Nothing's going to happen. Work for the better. As simple as that. We didn't fire anyone. We didn't even scream on anyone. Nobody yelled on anyone. Everybody said, work for the improvement. What's done is done. Don't bother. Because you can't change it. No, what's gone is gone. So that started happening, and then transparency started to happen in the system. And people started to showcase improvements through the digital system. Now, any PPT was made, anything was made at all, we are like, nothing data, no false claims. There has to be a screen snapshot, or you show the data right there and right then from the system. So slowly, when we started accepting only that data, people got used to representing one and one data only. So slowly started changing. And as Siddharth mentioned, Siddharth second generation always has a tough time. I'm fourth generation. So you can imagine the beating I had to go through to get this done. But once you get people coming with you, the air changes, right? Once they see one is accepted, two is accepted, four, they're like, oh, 4 people have accepted. And there are always naysayers, and they will stay naysayers. Eventually, the wind has to be stronger than the naysayers' wind. That's how I'll put it. And one or the other blows it away. So perseverance again. So we did all of that, and that slowly started changing the mindset. And there are still a lot of things we need to do. We're quite far away, but accepting that we're on the right path and you're taking the team along with you, I think that's what made the change. And then for review, we have very strict systems now. We have a daily, we have a weekly, and we have a monthly. We have a set agenda for the daily, weeklies, and monthlies. Daily meetings cannot exceed 30 minutes, weekly meetings cannot exceed 1 hour, and the monthly meetings cannot exceed 2 hours. Because anytime you used to have a daily meeting, if you're bashing people up, they don't want to come. You start weekly meetings, if you're bashing people up, they don't want to give the data even if it's there. They will avoid, they will make bahanas, they will do whatever they can. So everybody knows that we will talk the good, the bad, and they know what the bad is, so they come with the action plan with the PDCA on how the bad needs to be improved. So no bashing, no pointing fingers. Improving the system. That's become our motto to, I would say, move in the right direction. When people realize that mistakes are accepted openly, they share more. So that's what brings the whole change. So that's what we saw. So that's how we are starting. Yeah.
Wonderful,
I mean, I'm not saying we're there 100%. We're there somewhat. I mean, there are times when everybody loses their cool, but it's much less than how it was. So yeah.
Yes.
So,
thank you, Mr. Arora. I mean, I know. I mean, paucity of time. Otherwise, this IET panel would have loved to listen for more, say, minutes or hours from all of you. I loved the way he was telling. Yeah, till yesterday, what you did, forget it. Like I know what you did last summer, like that. Okay, forget it. No problem. At least fresh page should start from today. Fine, fantastic. A lot of cultural challenges and some insight from Mr. Arora on how to handle or how we handle. Thank you so much, Mr. Arora. Wonderful. Now let us come to the young man, Mr. Siddharth. Yes, from your perspective, Mr. Siddharth, what do you think the support system that should be brought in by government or industry, bigger industry bodies to support SMEs towards digital transformation? Your thoughts?
See, I think lots of attempts are being made, but it is not trickling down as usual, to us. At this point, even now, we are writing something to the SME minister, to get things moving. I think it's a constant thing. I don't want to say it, but I don't think we should rely too much on it. We should form our individual plan. If yes, you do get that option, you should apply for it and leave it there and follow up. And there also, at this point, although they're trying to make it as faceless as possible, there are challenges there to get our subsidies in place. I have not so far experienced, or neither have I heard of any experience where they have gained something through any of the government subsidies at this point. However, I would say that we keep our action going on various forums and various associations like IMC, PG, and also Bombay Industries Association. We are constantly engaging with them in order to bring some kind of support structure for the SMEs. That's all I can say for now. I mean, that's where we are, to be honest. It's better to be self-reliant and try and identify your own targets, break it up. See, I understand a lot of people spoke about the cost-sensitive aspect of this, developing this important function in the organization. But I think if you break it up into small pieces, you can still start somewhere and only move in the positive. You do identify what is the most important thing for your company, and then you start somewhere. And leap of faith, I think, leap of faith is what we are built on, at the end of it. That is what we are supposed to do anyways as entrepreneurs. So it's a natural thing. And like Tushar said earlier, yes, course correction, constant course correction, and the nature of creating that course correction is the ideal way of, going about it. So again, course correction, even in terms of the government, I would say it's constant. So I would say form your own plan and move forward. No waiting for anybody. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Siddharth. Okay, crux is fine. There may be many schemes, but okay, it might not have traveled to the beneficiary. Not everything. Yes, a lot of improvement need to take place. Correct. And start small. Don't wait for everything to government. Maybe you can start small steps, but parallelly keep pushing the government and bodies to make sure the so-called benefits trickle down to the last person. Yes, very, very apt, and yes, sharing his wonderful personal experience, Mr. Chennai. Thank you so much. Mr. Pradeep ji, now quick fire question to you also. You have been exporting a lot. What do you think, or how do you think that adapting digital technology is supporting your organization to export to other countries? Do you think it is helping you, or what do you think is the situation?
See, basically, when you try to export, there are two aspects customer look. One is the quality, another is the delivery on time. And when you adapt these technologies, what have we found, and even though with such a high attrition rate, we could grow the company, and we are able to deliver the machines on time to Indian customer as well as for the international customers. So these technologies are helping us to really reach to the offer prompt delivery and offer a prompt service to the customers. So these, when your communication improves, you prompt response time improves, the customers are happy, and they are coming back to you, and that really enhances the brand of the company. Once the brand gets established, it helps to really export the machines, or even to get the more share into the internal market or Indian market. So that is how we felt that without technology we cannot grow the company. And with this adoption of technologies, we feel that we are on the right track to really to grab the more market share. Because as I said, still the brand is still weak as in made in India, and that brand can only be improved when you really take the right steps, giving the right quality, the on-time delivery and on-time service. So these are the three factors which are very essential for, even though not only for international market, but Indian market also. And once you improve upon that with the help of technology, then you can really export the machines and you can really grab the more market share. That's how we feel, and that's how we are investing into this technology.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Wonderful. What Mr. Pradeep said is QDC, quality delivery cost, all can be influenced and affected positively by adapting technology, which will enable possibly reaching more countries and more clients in a more cost competitive way. Thank you, sir. Coming to the last entrepreneur, last question for Mr. Vijay Kumar. Sir, now, what do you think, once again, touching upon what support is required from your side, what type of design or implementation or other support that is required from either government or from other bodies, which would help Veltomac Engineering to adapt such digital technology. No doubt, Mr. Siddharth Chennai touched upon from his perspective. We would like to hear from your perspective what support would help you to adapt such technologies.
I don't think like government at large like can bring a lot of things, because normally passing on the benefits and bringing those things at a very micro level becomes it's a different challenge altogether, because we do better understand the Indian ecosystem, while there are certain subsidies and policies are already embedded in the part of MSME policy. If you do some compliances, then some digital parts, some IoT things, so you can always claim some expenditure and other parts. But just keeping aside, I believe like mostly the industrial bodies. Okay, so a lot of industrial bodies, CIA, ECMA, IET. So these are like very prominent. Okay, and they are already putting a lot of efforts in creating a good buzz and creating a better standard practices, the voices, the webinars, seminars, knowledge, acknowledgement. So these are very, very important. First thing, so because when you do certain things and when you get acknowledged, then you understand like I'm driving towards a right path. So that's very important thing, like you need to be acknowledged. Second thing is like when you go to such kind of forums and when you see a lot of different industries, and when we understand and when we hear the different stories, you also benchmark. Okay, so see, this kind of benchmarking also helps a lot to just keep on improving things. So just small steps, incremental steps, and making changes, and seeing the different peer industry and peer groups. So this kind of industrial bodies can definitely help through such kind of engagement and some such kind of programs. Then there are certain institutional bodies in terms of educational. So there has to be a kind of industry and academia collaboration. Okay, so that industry and academia, because that's first thing is like very. It can be a very seamless kind of assimilation, and also there can be a very good co-creation for creating changes, and can have a very good you can say, because academia itself is like known as a very good pedagogic system and all, so that can definitely help in creating a good culture across industry, and industry can also create a good you can say industry ready kind of people. Okay, in terms of diploma, in terms of the engineers, in terms of the other things, who can be coming to the industry, and that can be a ready product, correct? So I believe such kind of things could be a like a good milestones to look forward to. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent, Mr. Vijay Kumar. I think you approached it from a different context where the people are well trained and given the knowledge. Excellent. I think this feedback is also very important. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Now, coming to, I have one question to Mr. Dattatreya. Sir, now, how many industries you think, till now, the C4I4 lab would have handled and taken to the next level, sir? What do you think? How many numbers and how many industries are right now are being as a curated and handled?
Okay, that is a slight tricky question, but yeah, because see, I tell you, this today we are talking to Tushar, Siddharth, Vijay Kumar, Mr. Parvankar, and everyone has a story to tell, and these stories are very important for rest of all. But just to answer you, we must have reached out to about 1,000 plus SMEs for right from first step of awareness to adoption. That is the first part which we must have already taken a step. Okay. Now, how they take this journey, how from that adoption to acceleration, how they take is probably up to them. That is the first thing. And this I'm talking purely from our own experience of last 2.5 years. Okay, that is one. We must have reached out to about 50 medium-sized companies. When I say medium-sized, they're with a turnover of about 5 crore per month, kind of a thing, and created some kind of a roadmap for them in terms of how this journey they can take it forward. And we really have like a very professional organization. We created them some kind of a, and there are about 50 factories. I can certainly say that we created something like that. And coming down to the company like Pradeep, probably this will be our second factory, which we are actually going to turn around purely from a standpoint. So that is how okay. Now, apart from that, we also have worked with very large organizations as well, and where as that we need to create those champions inside the factory. There are about in a very large organizations in automotive as well as engineering, and very large companies. We are very proud about that. There are about 200 champions across India we created. So that's the kind of reference we have.
Excellent, sir. I think not a small number, Mr. Dattatreya, not a small number at all. I mean, it's a huge number. I think that shows the experience C4I4 lab is having. Looking forward to many people approaching you, sir. Let us see. Okay, final question and quick question and quick answer also, Professor Rahul, positive of time. Quick rounding up on what do you think the Indian SMEs are going on digital transformation? Would it go full swing, or you think there'll be some hesitation? What is your take? Quick, maybe a couple of minutes, and we'll wind up with that.
Yeah, so I think it's going to catch on. I don't think there's a choice. So in 5 years and 10 years from now, or even faster, you are going to see a lot of digitalization, especially for the SMEs. I don't think they're going to be able to do everything internally. So I think what is going to be important is the ecosystem, systems integrators outside, industry academia, collaborations, all sorts of things, the organizations like what Mr. Dattatreya was talking about. So I think that's going to be crucial for the SMEs. The other thing is success creates success. So we need some flagship projects, and this is sort of domain oriented. So what happens is right now, you may see some fancy videos or marketing literature, but people always ask, is there an industry, is there a company from this sector, from my sector, where I can go and see this? Talk about preventive maintenance and things like that. And that initial thing is going to have some sort of cluster effect. And I agree with Siddharth that government initiatives and subsidies may be great, but finally it's in the interest of the vendors and the users to collaborate. I think it's a win-win situation, because even the vendors are not going to get much traction unless they show this sort of thing. And the industry, but I think the challenge always is, how do you get competitors to collaborate? Suppose you go into some pharma or some sector, but if you look at the examples of say other clusters, I think that has been worked out. And so I'm pretty optimistic about it, that if we establish these flagship sites or success stories, which people can talk about, and I'm sure IIT or other organizations have a role to play in that. But have a vendor come together and deploy these things where you can actually go and see how you could digitalize. Right now, I think that is a bit of skepticism. So unless you have a champion who really believes in it, the other guys are more risk averse, and they ask, okay, look, let me see where this can be done. I want to see this with my own eyes. And I think that is an initial thing that we all have to come together and get kicked off. But overall, I'm super optimistic. It's going to catch on with all the problems, because I don't think there's an alternative. Otherwise, we won't remain competitive the way everybody digitalization. I mean, that's how you're going to have to do it. Thanks.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Professor Rahul. I think with an extremely positive note of Rahul, I think we will stop with this. I mean, given the choice, given the time, there can be more question, more learning from each one of us. Wonderful, gentlemen. Thank you so much for the wonderful interaction and sharing of knowledge, experience, and ideas also. Each one of you are wonderful. Whatever stage you are in the line or the journey of digital transformation, I would say the key takeaway from what all of you have seen, my personal thinking is like this. There is a gentleman, Mr. Tushar, what he says is, I mean, I started simple with very small things, made use of simple things such as tools such as Google, making use of the cloud very nicely. I mean, not that we need to invest in say billions and millions for digital transformation. Existing proof that it is possible even for an SME to successfully adapt. And what you were telling also, like everything is available on hand, everything is readily available. Data as on that minute is available, and including the meetings takes place out of the live data wherever required. So that is something really, really nice, so that you are right about getting right data, and your decisions also can be taken in a right way because we are getting the what you call online or as on that minute data, which is very nice. That is a key takeaway from that side. So possible to do digital transformation, start small and use available tools, simple tools, so that journey can start. That is wonderful. As far as Mr. Siddharth, yes, the aspirations are wonderful. I think he's already started with CRM, simple tools. Once again, it is a start simple. And he says micromanagement need to be avoided. That is the whole purpose of using digital transformation should be the leader, business leader or the business entrepreneur should stop doing micromanagement by using digital tools, which is, I would say, the biggest takeaway from what he said. As simple as I want to stop signing checks. I know from what context he said, I don't know, but it is as simple as that because you are saving time. You are saving your precious time for thinking about future rather than working on signing checks and other things. It can be as simple as that. Mr. Pradeep Bhavankar, yes, wonderful. I mean, he's already into machine manufacturing. According to me, what he said is he went to the different context. Yes, it is possible to even compete globally. Why in India? He is so confident he can even compete globally, provided you use digital tools to address QDC issues so that you address quality, delivery, and cost. Why not? Even Indian companies can compete globally. Why not? It's possible. But unfortunately, as he rightly says, in India, it is extremely price competitive. Some of his smart machines yet to take off the way he wants, but as we all discuss, it is a matter of time. Like young entrepreneurs who are already in this panel, they'll be seeing those kind of machines which will add value in the long run rather than seeing some small price increase in the beginning of the buying of the machine. Of course, Mr. Vijay Kumar, very difficult line, but as he rightly said, he brought the blockchain, simple blockchain into his process. Why not? Why not connect all the processes by using simple digital technologies? Connect all the processes. I mean, mistake proofing using rudimentary block tech. I was just typing down whatever he was telling. Very extremely nicely put, Mr. Vijay Kumar. Again, link around all the processes so you can track everything. I mean, why not use digital technology or digital transformation in a simple way? And of course, Dattatreya and Professor, they shared what they are doing. Wonderful job. Wonderful initiative they undertaken. And Professor all brought his knowledge and say in process industry and where the world is going. So thank you all of you. From my side, I would just take only 1 minute is we all know that nothing is perfect. You cannot wait for perfection to happen before we start the initiative. Let us start the journey. As somebody said, we have to take a leap of faith. And I only request the audience as well as the entrepreneurs, keep updating their knowledge, keep updating the information. Yes, you might not do everything what we come across in internet or across the world, what people are doing, but that will give us a say indication as to where the world is going or where our customers are going across the world, because now it is a global say client base. You don't know who is your competitor next day. He could be a next door guy or he could be sitting in Taiwan. We don't know. So it is better to keep track of what is going every day on everyday basis on respective areas so that we keep upgrading our knowledge on what is happening. I think, as I said, many SMEs, unfortunately, they think that, small organization need not be world class. I always keep sharing this with my entrepreneur friends. Come on, gentlemen, small organization can be mini world class company. Why we feel that small organization in 5 years can be very horrible? I mean, so digital transformation need not to take place. Things can be shabby. Who says so? I mean, even small companies can be mini world class organization without spending money many times. 5 years, how much it costs? 1 year, 2 years. It doesn't cost money. It is again coming back to the mindset. So let us start at a mindset change. I think, world is going, if you see Rolls-Royce talks about intelligent engines, which talk to each other. I mean, you see the swarm. I think sometime please Google and find out the swarm robots created by Rolls-Royce for this MRO, engine repair and inspection. Some beautiful, amazing things are going. In some places, you enter the mall, based on your retina scanning, it decides what type of passion you have. The advertisement comes in front of you, which is relevant to you. AI is going to that level. And the other person, this crazy gentleman whom I love, the Elon Musk, he's talking on Neuralink. You look into the laptop, just think what you want, it appears. That kind of, the technology upgradation going on. The bank, what I know, one of the big bank, they adopted at least 10,000 robotic process automation. 10,000 RPS they adapted. That's why it's a private bank. They are doing extremely well in India. So everybody is doing their own way Some of them are doing in a big way. All of us are trying to do in a start in a small way. But let us know what is going on around the world is my take. I always say, gentlemen, future is not somewhere in the future. Future is already with us. So with this, I will stop. And maybe I will request for maybe vote of thanks. I mean, I don't know, Ujani ma'am, there is a question and answer session. There is time. It is 5:45. Maybe Dr. Purnendu, and of course, let us start with the vote of thanks from Mr. Gyaneshwar, please.
But thank you, Dr. Bala. It was a wonderful session, extremely well moderated, some interesting conversations captured. We will move to the vote of thanks, and for that, I would like to welcome Gyaneshwar, who is also the co-chair of the IET Future Tech Panel's Manufacturing Working Group, to offer a formal vote of thanks to everybody who's joined us today. Gyaneshwar, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Ujani. Distinguished industry experts and fellow IET members and ladies and gentlemen. Today, on behalf of the Manufacturing Working Group, IET India, I just would like to thank and express our gratitude to Pradeep Balvankar and Siddharth and Vijay, Tushar and Dattatreya and Rahul for their kind presence and participation, and also for Dr. Bala for his leading the discussion and moderating the discussion in a very bringing up the very insightful the outcomes and takeaways from this discussion. And I just wanted to touch upon a couple of the few points in which I could from this discussion of a roundtable is always as Tushar pointed out that there are sometimes the change has to happen, but there will be list of parameters which are required to be fine tuned. But the first the change need to start from the human manpower. So manpower psychology always suggests that how we can motivate the manpower who are on the grounds. If we can motivate and make them to go towards data driven, and how that data driven kind of the support and the review mechanism can fetch them the required good results, and which they can defend in terms of good reviews and outcomes of that. So that itself is going to lead to the an enhancement of the revenue, quality and then delivery time, and the customer satisfaction. So that way, in the childhood, normally we give the taste of chocolate to kids, at least to start with, we need to show that kind of give the taste of chocolates to all the the few the practitioners on the grounds. And as Dattatreya was highlighting and pointing out that actually we need to create subject matter champions within the ecosystem of internally, so those champions can be flag bearers for us to take it forward. So I also take this opportunity, the secretariat and the organizing team of IET to be they deserve to be complimented and for their coordination and organization of this and such a wonderful event. And we really thank you, team. And also thank all the attendees and also the fellow members taking out their time from their busy schedule and attending this. And let's continue our endeavors on this kind of the roundtable conference, wherein we can bring out some of the good the essence out of which, so that others can reap the benefits out of that. And by this, I just want to really thank and stay safe and continue to contribute for the Indian economy through this.
Thank you so much, Gyaneshwar. I think that brings us to the end of this discussion today, and I will be in touch with all the participants as well. For now, I would like to thank all the participants once again, the speakers for being kind enough to join this group discussion and shedding light on all the things that we intended to discuss and wanted to achieve as an objective for ourselves. I will now sign off formally, but we will be in touch with you, and we hope that we kind of continue this association with you through events or through any sort of knowledge output that we produce later. Thank you so much for being a part of this, and we will be in touch. Thank you so much, everyone.